No, it does. All right, welcome back to another episode of Two Fans, 12 Rings. Jeff here. Brad, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. Manchester's red, so feeling pretty good about that. And sometimes you got to take an ass whooping on the gridiron.
Yeah, I know a lot about that this year. Both my football teams have taken plenty of ass whoopings. They've given some too here and there, but mostly taken them. And let's start with what you're talking about. Eagles Steelers this week. State title game, Battle of Pennsylvania, if you will. I don't think it's not a death sentence for the Steelers, obviously taking a 27-14, right?
I think it was worse. I think it was 27-13.
Okay.
27-13.
Yeah, Steelers without their best receiver. Eagles have this weird notion that there's drama in their locker room, and then they come out and don't show any sorts of drama. So good on the Eagles. I think it's just a nice, hard-fought Sunday night or Sunday afternoon football game, but I'll let you take it away.
I mean, the Steelers don't really match up with the Eagles very well. Not that many teams do. The Steelers like to play predictable defense that invites you to pass more because we like to give our pass rushers the opportunities to get home. We have a very good front four, but the Eagles may have the best tandem of tackles in the league. So, I mean, Lane Johnson versus TJ Watt, that's a Hall of Fame matchup on one side, Jordan Mailata on the other side against Highsmith. So, I mean, that could be fun to watch. TJ tried his best to really keep him in the game there early. And in the first half, it got a little bit muddy. But in the second half, I think the Steelers had 5 minutes of possession, only 2 possessions in the entire second half. I think we had 1 yard in the first quarter. So our offense is limited on the perimeter with skills, especially without George Pickens. That's a huge loss for us. And then the Eagles' defensive line just kind of took our O-line to church. I don't know if there was one spot on the team other than maybe edge rusher that the Steelers were better than the Eagles anywhere on the field. So just a mismatch. Got to get back healthy. We got the Ravens and the Chiefs in the next 10 days. So I'll be looking forward to seeing those matchups. We need George Pickens in the worst way.
Yeah. I don't know if I seen this and it was correct or not correct. Did Deontay Johnson get released from the Ravens?
I don't think he got released yet, but he got sent home and he won't be traveling to Pittsburgh to play or wherever it's at, whether it's Baltimore or in Pittsburgh. He's not going to be at the game. They mutually excused each other for the week or something like that. Like he's a basket case. I don't know. There seems to be a pattern in the history of football when a wide receiver leaves Mike Tomlin, it usually doesn't go well.
I think I probably already know the answer to this, but come off season, would you be interested in a reunion there, or you think it's too far gone?
I don't think it's worth a reunion because if things fell off a little bit, I think whether it's a veteran or through the draft, there's plenty of other wide receivers that could be beneficial to bring in rather than someone who's already left the team.
Yeah. I will say this, his time in Carolina did not seem drama-filled.
No, it just seemed like he wanted the ball a little bit more. He had a few good games. The Ravens got him. People were like, it's not a corner, but that's another weapon to put him over the top. And he has like 1 catch for 11 yards in 4 weeks with the team. Like, it's really weird.
It's very, very strange. Very strange indeed. Quickly on Pat's cards, I mean, Patriots still struggle to score points. That's kind of their MO. Cardinals had to keep themselves alive in the NFC West race. They have done that by beating New England. Also, Seattle drops the game to Green Bay, which I'm sure we might talk about. Let's go ahead and get into Bills Lions. So once again, 2 weeks in a row, the Bills are part of one of the top 5 games of the year. Just absolutely tons of scoring, lots going on. and 2 weeks in a row, Josh Allen is incredible. Yeah, I mean, just insane. So Lions, unfortunately, and it feels like this is the topic more than their loss, but they don't just lose football games, they lose players for the season, lots of them, including multiple players that they've signed to extensions recently. Talk a little bit about Bills Lions, what that game was, what the injuries are. What opinions you got in this game? There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I feel like Buffalo is an offensive juggernaut, but they're a team that is dying to get a stop. I mean, as much as they've scored 42 and 48, they've allowed 44 and 42. So, I mean, it's not like it's total utter dominance. Josh Allen is playing inhuman football. It looks more spectacular than what Lamar's doing, but I do want to point out Lamar has, I mean, they're almost the same exact stat line. It's just Lamar is doing it like a much more, I don't know, not as flashy. Josh Allen's, ducking people, diving around, throwing the ball, stopping before the line of scrimmage, whipping it downfield. What is it? 10 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks, no fumbles in back-to-back games, like combined. He's absolutely been phenomenal. But it's just two of the teams that people think are top 4 teams in the league, and it kind of is showcasing that sometimes, at least in the AFC, it seems like the offensive teams are on top. But man, it's a shame for Detroit because you lose a game and you lose David Montgomery for the year, and you lose another guy on defense in the front 7, and then your veteran corner Carlton Davis goes down for the year, and it's just, at what point can they keep overcoming these injuries? And then you turn around, it's like, oh well, they're 12-2. Oh well, they have a 12-win and an 11-win team in their own division. Like, it's just insane that Detroit is just getting, even when they're great, their luck is still bad with their division and some of the games they've had to play. But these are two teams that we would love to see in the Final Four. I think anybody's going to tune into any game these two teams are playing in. Obviously, the big decision about Dan Campbell going for that onside kick. And I know it's unorthodox, but I don't know if it's completely stupid, because I do agree with like Dan Orlovsky. Like, what is it now? There's like 22 players that have been injured for extended time on their defense. Like, you want to try and keep your offense out in the field. The onside kick was extremely close. They clearly had been working on it in practice. It wasn't on a whim. This was something that they had. And at the same time, it's like whenever he does stuff like that and it works, he's heralded, live and die by the sword. I get it. I personally wouldn't have done it, but I'm not going to kill Dan Campbell for it. But, I mean, what a watch from the neutral.
There were some benefits to kick the onside kick there. Obviously, the number one benefit is recovering it.
Retaining the ball.
Yes. The second thing would be you're giving the offense midfield, so they either have to score, kick the field goal, or they lose the ball, and therefore it's less time in which the offense can possess the ball. And I believe the game was in the fourth quarter. That's why he was able to onside kick it.
Yeah, I think it was like right inside the fourth quarter. Like, it was like with like
over like 14 minutes to go. Yeah, so essentially, at that point, time is of an essence, and the Bills had been able to score pretty much at will. So at that point, if they're going to score, let's try and make sure they do it without giving up a bunch of time. And you just kind of play the time game at that point. And to Detroit's credit, they were able to score too, obviously dropping the points that they did in such a Detroit Lions fashion. They won a game this year in which Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions, and they lost a game in which Jared Goff throws 5 touchdowns. Craziness, just absolute craziness.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Chiefs, they played and beat the Browns. Thank you very much. Close game. Essentially, it was 21-0, but the game was pretty much right there, and then obviously it's 21-7 as the final. But the story of the day is Mahomes comes out gimp and limping and doesn't finish the game. As of right now, you can get Kansas City plus money, and plus the points. What's What's your take on Kansas City and Houston this week? You think Mahomes is going to play? You think he's going to sit?
I think Mahomes is going to play, but I do think that the Houston defense, I heard today there's only 4 teams in the league that haven't scored 30 points yet this season, and the Chiefs are one of them. The other 3 are the Patriots, Giants, and Raiders, who are the first 3 picks in the draft.
Come on.
Well,
why you gotta do that?
It's just, I mean, they're on pace right now that the 4 teams did not score 30 will pick first, second, third, and 32nd in the draft right now, based on the standings. Like, that's just absolutely crazy. So I think the Texans had a chance regardless. What I think of is more long-term in terms of betting potential. I just want to offer you this. Chiefs are banged up. They lack in explosive plays. They're winning all these close games. Their final 3 games are Texans, Steelers, Broncos. The Bills are 2 games behind them and own the tiebreaker, and they play Patriots, Jets, Patriots. There's a real chance Buffalo wins their last 3 games. If the Chiefs drop 2 of their final 3, the Bills get the 1 seed. Do you see a chance that could happen? The Chiefs dropping 2 or 3 to the Texans, Steelers, Broncos?
Possible, yes.
With Patrick
Mahomes, I would not project it to happen. I would not predict it. Like, that's not my prediction. But yes, it could for sure.
But I think the Texans absolutely have a shot. I don't know about the Chiefs getting plus points. It's always hard to turn that down. But both teams have their division locked up. They both are in the playoffs. They're both going to host in the first round. So it'll be interesting to see maybe a playoff matchup, a month beforehand. It's obviously this game and the Steelers-Ravens are on the same day as 3 college football playoff games. So we are treated to a nice 5-game Saturday of really, really good football. So that's exciting. But what's the line on the Texans, Chiefs?
Chiefs plus 2.5 at home.
Yeah, under a field goal. I think I would take the Texans. I think with Patrick Mahomes banged up, I think the offensive line is struggling for the Chiefs a little bit. The front 7 of the Houston Texans looks good. But man, the Chiefs do have what seems to be the best defense in the NFL. The way they're just like, their offense isn't doing enough, but they always win games.
Yeah, the flip side of the stat that you read off a second ago, there's 4 teams that haven't scored 30. Kansas City being one of them. I don't know the full stat, but I can tell you this. Kansas City has only allowed 30 one time, and it was 30 on the nose to Buffalo. I would venture to a guess every other team has allowed 31 or more at least one time. I could be wrong, but it just goes to show you that Kansas City's defense has kept them in every single game they've been in, and a lot of the reason is the win streak they have is because of the defense.
Yeah, and on contrary to what I said, like with the playoffs starting today, if you look at the top 3 seeds on each side, the Eagles, the Vikings, the Steelers, and the Chiefs are all doing it with kind of defense first. And then the Bills and the Lions are the offensive first teams. So it's like if you take the top 3 seeds right now on both sides, actually 4 of the 6 are defensive-led teams. That doesn't mean their offenses aren't good. Their offenses are really good. But like this Eagles 10-game win streak that they're on, I think they're holding opponents to like 20 points a game. The Steelers are obviously defense first. The Vikings are number 1 in a lot of defensive categories. So it's just, yeah. I mean, it's something.
2 Monday Night Football games last night. The Vikings take care of business against the Bears. Not really shocking there. But the other one, the Falcons, who are playing for their life right now, trying to make the playoffs, they looked really sloppy and allowed the Raiders to hang around and almost gave up a Hail Mary to lose the game. Are the Falcons cooked?
I think they are because they're playing bad. They have to play the Washington Commanders, who just got flexed to Sunday night coming up, which I would expect them to lose that game. And I don't think they can beat Tampa when they play them another time. And
they don't have to play Tampa.
Are you sure?
Positive. They swept Tampa.
They swept Tampa.
Correct. So if they finish with the same record, they're in.
Well, they're what, one game back?
They're one game back right now.
Okay, so this weekend they play the Giants. It is in 2 weeks they got flexed against the Commanders. Yeah, I mean, two of their last three are Giants and Panthers. So they absolutely have a shot. That Sunday night game should be a big one to watch. But what, they need the Bucks to drop a game?
The Bucks have to drop one game and they have to go undefeated, or if they lose the one game, they'd have to have the Bucks drop two. And the Bucks just lit up the Chargers.
Well, let me answer one thing. One, no, the Falcons aren't dead. They definitely have a chance here. But the Buccaneers are Cowboys, Panthers, Saints.
Yeah.
I
don't know. Just to back up a little bit to that, what you just said, they got the Cowboys this week, Bucks Cowboys.
Yeah, that's the Sunday night game at Cowboys.
Yeah, I actually love the Cowboys in that spot, and I think a lot of people have already written the Cowboys off. I thought the best bet of the entire week last week was Cowboys getting points against the Panthers.
Panthers were favored for the first time in 34 games.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Cooper Rush has a winning record as a starting quarterback. I'm like, give me that all day. And they covered easily, obviously.
I still do like the Bucks. I don't know what the line is for betting purposes, but they are on a 4-game heater after a little midseason stretch. And they got everything to play for. But I don't see the Buccaneers losing two. They're at Dallas, and then they're home for the Panthers, home for the Saints. So I don't see the Buccaneers losing 2 games, which would put them at 10-7 if they did lose one. But no, the Falcons aren't dead, but it's an uphill battle.
Yeah. Any other games you wanted to touch on before we hit this college football massive weekend?
I know Kenneth Walker was hurt, but the Green Bay Packers looked phenomenal. The Vikings look phenomenal. Like, that NFC North is coming down to it.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. So if we back up, what'd you think Rams 49ers Thursday night? Rams taking care of business. 49ers kind of look sloppy once again.
Kind of have to take a second. First impressions are a lasting one. Take out the first month of football for the Rams. They're 7-2 in their last 9 games. They are fully on it. Their offense is humming. Sean McVay's a tremendous coach, and this defense with all these young guys they've been drafting are now in year 2, 3, and 4, and they've been playing together, and they're coming together, and they're a nice unit. Niners are dead, and the Rams, I mean, watch out.
Yeah. Seahawks. I told you this when we were breaking down the last bit of schedules, and you had read me off that the Seahawks have back-to-back games. It's Packers and Vikings both at home. They got to get one. They had to get one. And honestly, I thought the Packers was the easier one. They can beat the Vikings. They can. It's not dead, but it's an uphill battle because right now the Vikings they're the best team no one's talking about, in my opinion, because they're not a number 1 seed. They're kind of flying under the radar. The Eagles obviously have the long win streak. The Lions obviously have dominated people. The Bills have dominated people. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. Nobody's really talking about the Vikings, in my opinion, and they're the best team out there no one's talking about. They're right there. Yeah, another one that obviously has kind of gone under the radar is the Steelers because of where they're at. And then obviously the Ravens too, because those two teams have kind of bounced back and forth in the division. But I really like the Vikings. And truthfully, the Rams took it to the Vikings, and the Lions beat the Vikings. Those are two very good teams.
And remember, we always bring it up that almost every team has lost after playing the Lions. They lost to the Lions in a 3-point game, had a short week to the Rams, and an hour before kickoff, they're like, yep, Kupp and Puka are both playing.
With no heads up. Yeah, that was
on a short week out at the so yeah, it's
a lot. That's a lot. Yeah, Rams Bengals was my Super Bowl pick, so I'm not shocked the Rams have looked this good. Unfortunately, the Bengals, they got to win this week, but they have a massive uphill battle just to get to the playoffs, and probably unlikely. The Rams, on the other hand, I do like them against almost anybody in the NFC in the right situation. So
yeah, and Seattle, it's like after the Vikings, they go to the Bears, which I know the Bears have been bad, But like that's December 26th at Soldier Field. Like anything can kind of happen. And the Bears, they lost by 3
on a short week. I
Yeah.
think that's Thursday Night Football.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
Thursday. It's the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
So the thing is, they lost on a Hail Mary to the Commanders. Then they lost by 1 to the Packers. Then they lost by 3 to the Vikings. Then they lost by 3 to the Lions. Like the 49ers and Vikings have just crushed them back to back. And that was a 3-game road stretch. So the Bears have kind of just been getting the short end of the stick, but like they're not as 4-10 as it seems, I don't think. Like they are finding ways to lose games, but man, you're a Seattle team and you're coming in to play on a short week in Soldier Field and they got nothing to lose. But maybe they're trying to, I don't know. It's just I'm saying that's not a game you can just know you're gonna walk in and win.
Yeah. Any others?
Nope. If I missed any, I don't know. I mean, the Bengals are making things interesting. I do just real quick. I do think it's fun that the Bengals have the same record as the Dolphins, and it feels like the Bengals are gaining momentum to try and see what can happen at the end, and the Dolphins feel completely dead. Like the same record team can feel so different. And Denver's a real team. They just crushed the Colts. Denver's going to be a real player in the playoffs. I can't wait to watch them play the Chiefs.
That's the reason the Bengals are dead, not because the Bengals can't win games. The Broncos are legit, and they're not losing the 7th seed.
I don't even know who really could.
Aren't they the 7?
Well, the Bills have 11 wins, Steelers have 10, Kansas City has 13, and the Texans have 9. So do the Ravens. So that's 5 teams.
Correct.
Steelers
Ravens are basically tied for the division, and then they'll take the 5 seed is essentially what I was getting at.
So after those 5, it's Denver with 9 wins and the Chargers with 8.
How many do the Bengals have today? 6?
Yeah, they're 2 games behind the Chargers with 3 games to go.
Didn't they beat the Chargers though, didn't they? The Bengals, or they lose the Chargers?
They beat them 34-17.
So they hold the tiebreaker. They just got to get equal to them.
But the Chargers host Denver on it's an 8:15 game. What's the 19th? That's coming up here. That's Thursday Night Football this week.
Is who?
Broncos Chargers in Denver.
They got Denver early before Bo Nix took off. That was like week 2, I want to say.
Denver won by 7. 23-16. Oh no, I'm sorry. I have the Chargers schedule up. Yeah, they got him by a touchdown.
Yeah, they got him early though, right? What was the date?
It was
September.
It's week 5.
Okay, week 5, still decently early.
But the thing is, not to get too deep in the weeds, but after the Chargers play Denver, like let's say Denver wins, and the Chargers drop a game here.
Yeah.
At New England, at Las Vegas Raiders.
Those are easier games, but neither has really laid down. Raiders have taken teams to the brink, and so has New England. But those are both winnable games to lock up for the Chargers.
The Bengals have Browns, Broncos, Steelers.
Browns, Broncos, Steelers.
Yeah.
Wow, man. So the Bengals have to go undefeated, I think I read, right? They have to go 3-0.
No, the Bengals could win just 2 more, but then the Chargers would have to lose all 3 of their games.
Okay.
So they would have to win out and hope that the Chargers drop 2 of their last 3. They're pretty much done.
I'll say this.
It's pretty much
if the Chargers lose to the Broncos, Bengals are alive.
Oh, yeah.
If they beat the Broncos, they're dead because they're not going 0-2 against those 2 teams. They could drop 1. They're not dropping both.
But the Broncos are sitting here like, man, if we win and beat the Chargers, who are the 7th seed, and go up 2 games on them, they'd pretty much lock themselves in the playoffs, which they pretty much already are. Like I said, it's looking like Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs from that division, Ravens, Steelers, and then Bills, Texans. That's what it pretty much looks like. I bet they're all they're all pretty high, but we can move on.
Do you have spreads in front of you for the bracket, or can you pull them up?
I can pull them up quickly. Got them.
All right. My apologies. Let's start with what I believe is the Friday night football game. Okay.
Quick.
Go ahead.
Friday at 3:00. College game day is in South Bend. Then Saturday at 9 a.m. they're in Columbus. We get 2 game days this weekend.
Really?
They're doing Friday in South Bend, Saturday in Columbus since it's close enough.
Yeah. That's dope.
And I believe the Friday one, I'm not 100% sure on the start time, but it's afternoonish. It's like 3 or 3:30 or something like that.
Okay. So let's start here. Friday night, 8:00 in South Bend. Okay. The legendary Notre Dame Stadium. Number 7 Notre Dame takes on the number 10 seed Indiana Hoosiers, who are 10-1 on the year. Both teams are actually 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Or 11-1. Both teams are 11-1.
11.
Sorry, both teams are 11-1. Notre Dame is what?
-7.5.
-7.5. Okay, we need picks, and we need picks on the spread here. Okay. Yeah. I love Notre Dame money line. I think I also like them to cover. 31-21 is roughly where I sit. I'll say this about Notre Dame. They lose to your big ones. They lose to Georgia. They lose to Bama. They lose to Michigan, Ohio State. They lose to USC sometimes. They don't lose a lot of these middle tier ranked games. They even beat Texas A&M earlier this year. They throttled ranked Navy and Army. Not that that's like a huge accomplishment, but I just like Notre Dame, especially on the money line. They 100% win this game. I would be shocked if the Hoosiers pulled the upset. I like Notre Dame to get the W at home, but I think I like them to cover too. What about you?
I think it's closer. I do like Notre Dame money line, but I think this is 23-20.
Okay.
I think the best way to bet the game is Indiana +7.5. I think they can play with Notre Dame. I do like Notre Dame to win though. Indiana has like a top 10. It might even be number 1 in the nation run defense statistically, and that's what Notre Dame does. I mean, only one team was, and even if it was an off day, only one team this season fully committed to making Notre Dame have to pass the ball, and it was the 6th ranked team in the MAC, and they beat them, Northern Illinois. Now, I know that was like a one-off game, but I'm just saying Notre Dame has games where they can pump Navy and Army by a combined 90 points, but then they can show up and lose these games. So, but I do think a veteran quarterback and Riley Leonard, the O-line that they have, Marcus Freeman, I mean, a lot of coaches can prove a lot in this playoff. Notre Dame is the number 3 ranked team in the country defending the pass. So if they make Indiana like really struggle in the air, I don't think weather's a huge issue, although they're calling for some slight flurries in like 22 degrees. But both these teams are right up the road from each other. But I like Notre Dame to win. I like Indiana to keep it close. I'm going to go 23-20. I don't think there's too many points scored in this game. I'll also take under on 51.5.
51.5, and what did I have it at? 31-21,
which is 52.
Wow, I did not. I swear to God, I didn't know the over under.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll take the over then. I like the 31-21. That's my official prediction. But I'm way more confident in just a Notre Dame win. So 31-24 could also be in play. But yeah, give me Notre Dame covering the points. The biggest travesty, in my opinion, of this entire college football playoff, and this was talked about, I remember, from the very moment the playoffs were discussed, was I can't wait to see a playoff game whiteout. You know what I mean? Like the night game at Penn State. And it could have very easily been the Friday night game.
Or Saturday.
Had
2 shots.
There's 2 slots. 50% of the slots were open here. And they arguably get the worst one. Number 6, Penn State, who dropped a second game in the Big Ten championship game, is hosting the 11 seed SMU. This game's at noon on TNT and HBO Max if you're okay to stream. Penn State is favored by 8.5. Is that what you have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think there's going to be good football this weekend. I foresee Penn State laying it down on them. I think this is an environment even at noon that wow. Breaking news. Yankees just traded for Cody Bellinger. Anyways, I do think that this is probably just too big for SMU. I said it before the playoffs started. I didn't think SMU deserved to be in. They were kind of a weird matchup because they lost their best 2 opponents all year. This is their 3rd opponent that they're going to play that's just better than them. They're going to lose it. I don't know about the 8.5, but I'm going to give it to them in another cover. Give me Penn State 34-17.
Okay. I think if this was a matchup in the second round or if there was no home field, I would have liked SMU to keep this a little bit closer. But SMU has played in 13 games this year. They finished 11-2. And the average temperature of those games was 72 degrees across the board.
Really?
This one
what a weird stat.
This one is expected to be 20. Well, it's a Texas team coming to Penn State.
I get it. Yeah.
This is going to be 50 degrees colder than maybe what a lot of people are playing in, and they're coming into a smash mouth Big Ten team. SMU, when they played Clemson, got off the blocks really slow. I feel like they could do that against Penn State too, but Penn State has a better squeeze. They're at home in their whiteout, in their environment. I look for them to slow and steadily pull away. And I do like Penn State to cover. Their offense, again, against Oregon, they did not win, but they could have lost 45-17 in that game. They lost 45-37. Their offense is clicking. They will be at home, playoff game. Everybody has got that extra ounce because they love James Franklin. And whether it's regular season or not, he's never won a big game. He needs this one in the worst way. I think SMU will be able to return next season and build on what they have. But we said before the year, what is one team you could think of more than any other team in college football the last decade that benefits more from the playoff going from 4 to 12? And it's perpetually ranked 8 to 11th, Penn State. Now's their chance. They get in. They host it. I think they dominate. I think 34-21. I'm going to give SMU a few more points. Let's go more field goals. No, I like that. 34-21. I like Penn State to win and cover, which 34-21 would put me on the over as well. The over-under is 53.5.
Next game here, we have the number 5 Texas Longhorns at 4:00. Hosting the 12 seed Clemson, the ACC champs versus the SEC runner-up here. 4:00 TNT, also stream on HBO Max. The spread I have is Texas minus 11.5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I gave you this preview last week, and it is what it is. My favorite way to bet this game is to alternate the spread up just a few points. And I like Clemson plus 14.5. I think Texas can only win this by about 2 scores. So the safe way to bet it is just by altering the spread just a little bit. But I do like Clemson plus the points, but I think Texas wins. I think this is a defensive slugfest. 24-20 is how I really like it. I would not be shocked if we've seen Arch. I think there could be a very slim short leash for Ewers the way he's played these last couple weeks, and I do think that Clemson has some championship pedigree. The coaching staff I like. I just don't know that they have the talent. They do throw it through the air, and it's something you guys have struggled with the last several years. That's something to watch out for. But I do like Clemson to keep it close.
Okay. I like the fact that Texas is at home. Obviously, that's helpful. Clemson is top 5 in the nation in turnover margin. They do take care of the ball very well. They don't really give it away too much. But Clemson needs big plays to win football games this year. Texas is number 1 at limiting the big plays, and they have the number 1 pass defense, including the Jim Thorpe Award winner and Jahdae Barron, 2 defensive All-Americans in the back end, Michael Taft and Jahdae Barron. I think this is without question the best defense Clemson has faced. I think Cade Klubnik struggles a bit. They've played a few teams with a pulse before SMU, and that was South Carolina, Texas A&M, or not Texas A&M, Louisville. The 3 games they lost, Georgia beat them 34-3 at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
I think it's any kind of smackdown like that. But the fact that Clemson isn't even in the top 60 in limiting big plays, I think that can free up some stuff. I think there's just a talent gap on the team a little bit here. Texas has looked really good against anyone not named Georgia. I do like Texas to win and cover. I think Texas gets to 27, but I think they hold Clemson to 13. I think this Texas defense will be on full display at 4 o'clock.
All right. Like I said, my favorite way to bet this game is by taking Clemson up to 14.5. It's not a huge jump, and you're not giving up a ton of money there.
By the way, before we get to the last game, most people think the last game is the closest game or the toughest game to call. A lot of people feel really good about either side.
It's 8-9, to be fair. That should be the toughest one to call.
If you wanted to take Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, all money line, it is plus 117. So $10 would win you 11. However you wanted to bet it, it is plus money if you were to just take the money line on Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas.
They're all favorites. That is chalk. But, yeah, that's a good bet. It's a good bet. And that's who we all predict as of right now. We both have Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas winning. So, what you say that is? Plus what?
Plus 117. Just over even money, but, I mean, 3 games on the money line. You feel real good about them. That's who you really like to win. I mean, we can see what it is if we add the 4th team here, whatever you pick.
Yeah. This is the most intriguing one. You got the 8 o'clock game. It's the 8 versus 9. This should be the tightest matchup in theory. Ohio State at home at night, ABC. This will be your Kirk Herbstreit game. This is the big one. As you alluded to, College game day coming to Columbus. This is Ohio State hosting the number 9 Tennessee Volunteers. Ohio State favored by -7. Is that what you have?
And a half.
Okay, I did not have the half. So 7.5 Ohio State.
All these games 7.5 or larger, which is interesting too.
It's very interesting.
They're saying no close games. I don't know if I like that.
Well, to be fair, that was always Nick Saban's argument as far as why he should get in. Is like, what do you think Vegas would favor us against the 5 seed? Yeah. Or what do you think Vegas would favor us against the 3 seed right now? Just take a look. What do you think you know what I mean? That was Nick's always his argument.
I don't know.
The better teams are always going to be favored.
I don't know if you've heard of Josh Pate, but I listened to a lot of his stuff. The late kick with Josh Pate. And he gets stuff.
Yes, I've only heard him because he's been on Joe Klatt's podcast.
Okay, so I listened to his podcast, and he gets what lines would have been from FanDuel sometimes.
Really?
And he says if it would have been Bama instead of SMU, Penn State would be favored by 2.5 instead of 8.5 in the first round.
Not gonna lie, I would be shocked to see them favored, but you're saying that would have been the case.
It would, because Penn State's still at home. Penn State.
I know, but
2.5. Yeah. It would have been less than a field goal game, which basically they're saying even teams, one's at home. That's how we're going to do the spread.
Yeah.
But that's what it would have been. It would have been Penn State -2.5 at home. But then everyone's going to be like, that's our underdog bet of the week. We're taking Bama. But, I think that's what a lot of people just, if Bama would have been the team that played Penn State, that would have been a whiteout 8 o'clock game. I think that would have overtaken Notre Dame, Indiana. It would have been Penn State.
And game day would have been there for that.
Yeah, Penn State, Alabama would have kicked it off, and they would have been in Happy Valley, and then, But it is what it is, but I just wanted to give you that nugget. Yeah, it would have shrunk the line by a full touchdown.
All right, so Predictions here.
Yeah. Tell us why Ryan Day's fired. Go ahead, just get it out.
Here's my honest reaction to this game when it was announced that Tennessee was going to face them. Totally winnable matchup for Ryan Day, being at home in the shoe at night against a Tennessee team. This is a game he usually wins. To his credit, I'm going to give him some credit here. Ryan Day beats these type of teams all the time. I just think that the way that this season's transpired and what I've seen from Ohio State, the two biggest moments they had, obviously going to Eugene. Well, let's go three biggest moments because one of them deserves credit. They went to Penn State and they beat them on a goal line stand. They went to Eugene and lost by 1 point. There was some clock management, obviously, at the end of that game. They probably could have won. Things kind of, didn't go their way. The Michigan game, obviously, they host Michigan, and they got in their own heads there. I mean, there's no other way around it. Anybody that watched that game knows that Ohio State beat themselves more than Michigan really beat them in that game. Ohio State calls some different plays. They probably win that game. Tennessee is built up front, similar to Michigan. Is this a game that Ryan Day is going to coach to win, or is he going to coach to prove that he's physically tough? Can I know that first before I predict the outcome?
I do think
I love Tennessee plus the points.
Yeah, Tennessee, their defensive line is really good.
Yeah.
But I wonder about this moment for Nico. There's been a few games they've been shut out in the first half, and this is another game where it's like, I know everyone can talk about how the offense is called. How will they just try and run the ball at Tennessee the whole time? What are they going to do? But I've seen Will Howard play well in some big games and play not so well. So it's inconsistent there too. But I think Ohio State's defense has an opportunity to take advantage of still a freshman quarterback in Nico. The home field advantage, the blackout in Columbus, nighttime. I do think Tennessee can keep this game close, but I don't want the image of Ohio State fumbling against their rivals who have a clear mental edge. I mean, they beat Indiana by 23. They beat Penn State without their best offensive effort. If it wasn't for a little bit of a mix-up at the end of the game, they're probably kicking a field goal and a bad offensive PI call. They're a field goal away from beating the number one team in the nation. I do think they're better than Tennessee. I do think they get it done at home. But I think you have to take the points with Tennessee because Tennessee could win. And if Ohio State wins, they haven't blown out a ton of teams this year, that are in this level of football. So that's what I would say. I'd say Tennessee covers, but Ohio State wins.
Same. And I don't know what the over under is. I'm thinking Ohio State like 28-27.
I like Ohio State. Again, I think these are a little bit low scoring. I like Ohio State 23-16.
Really?
Tennessee, touchdown, 3 field goals. Ohio State, 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals-ish, something like that. I think there's a lot of field goals in this game. I think the defense is staying strong a little bit. I don't think there's going to be too many touchdowns. 23-17.
What's the over under?
46.5.
Oh, so I'm way over it.
Well, 23-17, that would be 40. So, I mean, I'm a touchdown under. But again, I have 5 field goals in the game, I think, with my final score prediction, if not.
Yeah. I'm taking Ohio State, and I'm taking them 28-27. Okay. But I do love Tennessee plus the points.
In a non-biased way, I think I also just want to get this out. I think I have the perfect bet for everyone listening because I think a lot of people are going to agree with a lot of things we're saying. People may disagree with my Texas take and our take on Ohio State. But are you familiar with what teasers are? I believe I've explained to you in the past.
Yep.
So you pick all the games against the spread, and then you move them all the same amount. If you do 7 points, you move Penn State to -1.5, hosting SMU. You then move Clemson to +18.5. It moves Tennessee to +14.5, and it moves Notre Dame to -0.5.
Love it.
It's
Love the bet.
It's +240. $20 would win 48. It's to over double your money. Well, it would triple your money because the profit is double what you're putting in. But and let's just say if you're an Ohio State fan listening and you don't want to do Tennessee to 14.5, it would move Ohio State to -0.5. They would just have to win if that would make you feel better on the bet. I don't know if anybody would go different ways. Indiana to +14 instead of Notre Dame money line. The price doesn't change no matter which side of the spread you make. However many points you add is what determines the price. But I think it's in a great opportunity to get teams down to pick'ems or up to over 2 touchdowns. And you can do that for all 4 games. And I think that's the way to do it.
As these games are going on, and there's a lot of big time schools here, some of these schools are deep rooted in quarterback recruits, and the transfer portal is just wide open here. And what's your take on the transfer portal essentially happening during the biggest moment of the entire season? And a kid like Bo Prabula, who, if for those of you who don't know, he's the backup quarterback for Penn State, highly recruited, basically found out that, forgetting his name, Drew Atler is going to come back next year for Penn State for his senior year. And Bo wants to transfer. And I understand that. This is what's happening with these kids. And because of that, he's not able to. This happened with Texas, I think, just last year with Malik Murphy.
Yeah.
His best opportunity to seek a job was going to be immediately rather than waiting for spring ball. Because there will be a second portal coming open around spring ball. But what's your opinion on the transfer portal being open? Obviously, I know you hate it, but what's your take on it?
I just wish that there was if it is at this time and there's some kind of reason why it can't move, because it clearly doesn't make sense to be right now. I just wish we knew that reason. Schematic.
I believe their actual reason, and we forget this as sports fans. We truly do. They're going to school. It's for school. That's why the transfer portal exists, so that they're able to get into class before the semester opens back up.
Yeah. So the thing is I think his name's Brown or something like that. He's on Ohio State's roster.
Devin Brown, quarterback.
Okay, he plans to transfer, but he wants to be on the playoff roster.
Yep.
So it is his choice to wait till the next time. But a lot of times for quarterbacks specifically, it's kind of first come, first serve. And a lot of those spots fill up in this window, so quarterbacks can get a head start with their new team. But then it's there's not going to be as many spots left open if you stay on your team for the playoff run. So it's always tough to see players, it's not a lot of starters or big time players, but you get attached to these guys, you recruit them, and it's just not going their way. They can't sit forever, and they're kind of just put in a really tough spot. And for Penn State, remember, they played Wisconsin with a backup quarterback and had to come from behind and win. He matters. If Drew Allar, second quarter, gets rolled up on ankle out for the game, they're now on really their third string quarterback in a playoff game. And SMU has a top 10 pressure rate in college football. So it sucks for the teams. It sucks for the players, but yeah, I guess they are student athletes first. And I would assume that's something they're trying to resolve come April when they have these league meetings.
Yeah, it's one of the many issues with college football right now. Obviously, we have issues with the seeding and how that all plays out and the transfer portal. A little bit of news here. Bill Belichick signs on with the North Carolina Tar Heels.
Mm-hmm.
Opinions on Bill Belichick in the college space, what the success level could be, do you think it's going to work? I'd like to hear some predictions out of you.
Football's entertainment. If it's not for Texas, give me a reason to watch your team. I have a reason to look. Hey, what time does North Carolina play today? Bill Belichick's coaching. Also, Julian Edelman made some points like, yeah, I was a quarterback and he turned me into a receiver. I was a defensive tackle. He turned me into an end. I know Bill Belichick's draft picks haven't been great, but in terms of projecting talent, and I would like to see Bill with a mold of clay coming out of high school and just evaluating them and being like, yeah, this is where you're going to be best with your skill. I like to see that out of Bill. It's always fun to see him on a sideline. I can't wait to see his antics in college. He's going to know every rule down to the finite, every little thing. He's going to give his team an advantage every week somehow. And North Carolina is in a very winnable conference down there in the ACC. They have plenty of NIL. I know most of it goes to basketball, but we'll see how revenue sharing changes all that. And I think Bill's in a great spot. And if, it clearly seems to me he wanted all sorts of control. Well, he can have that in college. It's still coaching football between the lines at the end of the day. And now that you're getting GMs for Mike Lombardi, anyone who watches the Pat McAfee show sees it all the time, but for him to be able to work with Bill Belichick and to see what they can do, they've talked a lot on Pat, especially Mike Lombardi, about how it's like building a team. You don't just get players and all this stuff that he knows what he's talking about. Time to stand on business, man, because everyone's going to judge how this team looks right from the get. They're not giving you any time. Build your team since it's so easy. So I'm excited to see it. And, yeah, anytime Bill's on a sideline, the other coach is clearly at a disadvantage.
Well, a couple of things here. So I have a couple of points to make on why I believe Bill Belichick will be a success in North Carolina.
Oh, by the way, just real quick, I do believe he will be a success. I don't know if I answered that, but I do think he will be successful.
I don't even know what a success completely translates to be fair. I just think it'll be a success. I think he'll win the ACC someday. Like I think he'll be a playoff team someday. Like I think those things would be a success. Would you agree?
Let me try and do it this way. He's got a 5-year deal. You play 12 games.
Basically a 3-year deal, but it is 5.
Okay, well, let's just call it 5 because it's a 5-year deal. You play 12 games, then you could potentially have bowl game and playoffs.
Yep.
So let's go. If in 5 years is over and he's won over 51 games, that's a success.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that means once or twice you're going to the playoffs, you make 1 or 2 conference championship games, you're averaging 8+ wins regardless. You can win your bowl games because you're going to have one of those. So it's like that's if he goes 10-2 for 5 straight years, not counting bowl games and playoffs. I don't expect that, especially the first year. It might take a year or two. So I would put it at like 51, 52 games. If at the end of 5 years he's averaged over 10 wins in a run, maybe that's setting the bar high, but it's Bill Belichick.
I did love to see there were players that were in the transfer portal for North Carolina that immediately got out of it once he was brought on there. So one of the reasons I think he'll succeed. What's the one determining factor that determines wins for Bill Belichick in the league? If I said, hey, this game is going to happen and Bill Belichick's going against this, what would you deem that to be?
Reword the question. I'm at a loss.
Okay. So Bill Belichick's winning percentage against rookie quarterbacks is staggering, right?
Oh, okay.
Like staggering.
Ridiculous.
I just can't help but feel
he's going to confuse young quarterbacks.
Wouldn't you assume? Is that fair to assume that he's going to have an upper hand on all these college quarterbacks?
Yeah, and I just feel like you think about all the ex-NFL players that have kids.
That too.
They want them to play for Bill Belichick. So you think about all these ex-NFL kids that may go there, and it's like they've already probably had good coaching growing up with their dads being in the league and whatnot. And I think they help themselves in recruiting by being upfront. If you want to operate as an NFL player in college, come on over.
Yeah.
We are training you for the next level, period. If you want to come in, find where you're best, develop, and then move on. That's what we are. We are a business. We're not here to be a party school. We're not here to have a good time. our culture is the NFL, and that's what we're going to sell. And they were upfront about it. They've been given the keys, and the GM and coach are obviously in lockstep. That's literally half the battle. A clear goal with everyone in charge in the same line, march in the same direction. And yeah, I'm very excited to see how they do.
Yeah, you said something right off the cuff that me and you have always been lockstep in this. If you want me to watch your team, you have to be interesting. What's bringing me to a television? Why am I turning your game on? Don't get me wrong, I love football. There's a lot of football. You don't get my timeshare unless you deserve it. I haven't watched as much Colorado football in my life as I have these last 2 years. They're interesting.
Yeah.
They're interesting.
Every Saturday or Friday when me and shout out Jay Mag are getting ready to watch football together Saturday, I make a list on my notes of all the games at each window that are worth watching so we can decide. North Carolina is going to be on that list more
Absolutely.
often. Because why? It doesn't matter if they're playing Chattanooga. I want to see Bill Belichick coach college football.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. Another thing that we're lockstep on, but I do want to comment on it. Travis Hunter winning the Heisman Trophy has somehow turned into a I don't want to use the word debate. It's turned into
there's got to be other reasons why Travis Hunter won the Heisman other than his play on the field. It's because the media wants it. It's because it's Dion. It's because it's cool. It's because he's got a podcast. Why can't it just be that Ashton Genty almost had the same numbers as the best collegiate running back of all time, but Travis Hunter is a unicorn. He's an All-American on both sides of the football. And not that snaps is a stat, but Joel Klatt said this, and this was interesting. But, if you take Travis Hunter and the amount of snap difference to the number 2 guy, let's say it's 363.
That's roughly what it is.
And then you go from the number 2 guy, that same amount down, so 363 down, you'd be at about the 1,343rd player in college football. That's the gap between first and second. And it's his tackles numbers aren't great. He doesn't get thrown to a lot. And when he does, it's PBUs, incompletions. He doesn't have 7 interceptions like Charles Woodson did. Yeah, he had 4. Well, he wasn't even the best receiver. He led the Power 4 conferences in touchdowns. Well, Nick Nash from San Jose State won the Triple Crown. He's not a Power 4 receiver.
If I hear another person bring up Nick Nash, don't get me wrong. I hope he's a great NFL receiver someday. He ain't going in the top 3. I can tell you that. Travis probably is.
And I'm not. And it just seems to me, everyone who wanted Ashton Genty is just trying to tear down Travis Hunter, and everyone who wanted Travis Hunter is Ashton Genty is fantastic.
Yes.
He might be the greatest second place finisher in the history of Heisman voting. Vince Young to Reggie Bush comes to mind. I can't even.
Manning to Charles Woodson.
Okay, sure.
Who again, Charles Woodson, unicorn. In all due respect to one of the greatest Michigan players of all time, he ain't Travis Hunter.
Listen to Charles. Did you see what Charles Woodson said to Travis Hunter?
I did.
And so it's just man, it's not just a media award. Forget, he won the Blitnikoff, people voted on this and that. Forget it. He's an All-American offensive and defensive player. And it's just Ashton Genty got his team to the playoffs. I bet if Colorado was in the Mountain West, they would be the 3 seed too. I bet Colorado would have taken care of UNLV twice this season.
Absolutely.
So it's just again, Ashton Genty's fantastic, and I can't wait to see him play the winner of Penn State versus SMU. But what Travis Hunter's done, and it's Josh Pate mentioned this, and I think it was RJ Young's quote. He said, "We maybe as a culture, but fail to recognize greatness just because it's in our face." And it was almost a homage to LeBron as well. It's if we would have told you there was a guy like Travis Hunter but it was 45 years ago, you would think it's the most amazing thing ever. But you're watching it right now, and you can't grasp how just amazing it is that he is that good on both sides of the ball every single week. And it's like Ashton Genty's amazing, but he's second.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how else to say this. I've never seen anything like Travis Hunter. I've seen Ashton Genty. Most recently, Melvin Gordon from Wisconsin. Look the stats up. They're very similar. Melvin didn't win the Heisman.
No.
Marcus Mariota did. Melvin didn't even finish second that year, I don't think.
And I think something that hurts, and not saying it should or shouldn't, but like sometimes it sucks when there's no one to even like, I don't know how to put this. It's like no one can even give you competition. It's like, it's weird. Like Ashton Genty, there was just no one to compare him to. And it's like, there's always going to be that question, would he be doing this in a Power 5 or Power 4 conference? And I understand immediately. He had a tremendous showing against Oregon. So maybe he would have. I don't know. And then you could argue, well, Travis Hunter did it in maybe the weakest Power 4 conference. So it's not even to get into all that. It's just that, like, oh, Ashton Genty, it's the other team's ball. I'll turn on Boise in about 5 minutes. Travis Hunter's on the field every play, locking down receivers. He went for over 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns on offense and contributed 4 picks, umpteen pass breakups, a fumble to win the game against Baylor at the goal line. He forced a fumble on a tackle to win a game. And that's the other thing, too. Both of those guys, they're amazing humans, it seems like, too. They seem very nice. They're never in trouble. They follow the rules. They're not acting like thugs out there. It's like they're both stand-up guys. I'd love for either of them to find their way to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they were both tremendous. But, like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime guy versus the best running back we've seen in 8 years. And it's just like, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Every once in a while, we have seasons like this. If I remember correctly, a couple of years ago, this would have been the 2022 season. So I believe that was Caleb's Heisman, if I'm not mistaken. But that one was kind of wide open towards the end. Blake Corum was even in the race, but he tore his knee up like 2 weeks before the season ended. Like that would have been a runaway Ashton Genty season.
Yeah.
You know? But unfortunately that's just not how football goes. This was a year in which Genty had a great year, and there's no denying that. But we also seen it. I'm going to be completely straight up. We seen this last year, but Travis got hurt, and Colorado didn't have as much success as they did this year. This year, they finished the season ranked. Okay, now, they're not getting the playoffs, but they finished the season ranked, and they would have went to the Big Ten championship if it wasn't for like a freaking 4-way tie, or Big 12 championship. It wasn't for a 4-way tie. Travis Hunter is just he's the only thing we've ever seen like this. There's nothing else close.
And it's like, well, Ashton Genty got his team to the playoff, and Travis Hunter didn't. It's like, how'd Jaden Daniels do in the playoffs? Yeah. How'd Caleb Williams do in the playoffs? How did Kyler Murray do in the playoffs? How did Baker Mayfield do in the playoffs? How did Lamar they weren't in there. Oh, well, it was a 4-team playoff. You think Boise would be in there if it was a 4-team playoff?
No.
They wouldn't. So it's like, there's only so much you can do. And it's like, one was the best at his position. No one's disputing that. You could even say he's the best offensive player. But if he was the best, who's the second best offensive player? Arguably Travis Hunter. Who's arguably the best defensive player? Travis Hunter. Like, again, All-American on both sides of the ball. It's just like, again, it comes down to one thing for me, ulterior motives. Because people who like Travis Hunter winning the Heisman also loved Ashton Genty. People who wanted Ashton Genty seem to despise Travis Hunter. And maybe it's like an inverse thinking, like, oh, they like Travis Hunter because the Deion effect. And it's like, well, what if you don't like Travis because of the Deion effect? Like, it can go both ways. Have you ever just, like, maybe looked inside why you really don't want Travis Hunter to win the Heisman? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Anything else?
Hey, I know people don't listen or watch soccer a lot, but City can take their cheating asses home. Manchester's red. What a comeback by the boys. Absolutely loving the new coach. Shout out Manchester United. Made my Sunday. It was magnificent.
You guys beat City on Sunday?
Fuck yeah, we did. Or frick yeah. Yeah, fuck yeah. I can say cuss words. It's my own podcast.
At away.
Yeah, it was a deflected cross, header goal by Manchester City, went into halftime. In the 88th minute, we earned a penalty kick and tied it up. And in the 91st minute, Amad Diallo, goal, winner.
Is City kind of falling apart?
They are kind of falling apart. Injuries. There's a lot of stuff with the negotiations. They're holding midfielder Rodri. Tore his ACL at the beginning of the season. Been playing so many games. So losing like kind of your quarterback per se, if you will. The goalkeeper hasn't been playing well. They're a little bit in shambles right now. They still have good players, but a lot of them are getting old. They've played so many games the last 6 years. You look how far they've gone in Champions League, that winning the league, going to this, FA Cups. They've played just, I mean, it starts to catch up with you. What they win, I think 4 or 5 straight Premier League, 6 in like 7 years. It was, I mean, what a run.
Who's projected to win it this season?
It's between Liverpool and Arsenal, pretty much. Liverpool's got like a 5 or 6 point lead.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, they started the season so hot, but they've dropped some points here and there. And Arsenal, who finished second last year's on their keister, and Chelsea have. People were like, they're probably going to finish like top 5 for. Chelsea have played absolutely phenomenal to start the season. So I'd say right now it's probably Liverpool's to lose. But I can go ahead and look up the standings just real quick.
How many games left, roughly?
Oh, there's 38 total games. So we got about 22, 23 left. We're in the first half of the season.
Oh, okay.
So Liverpool's ahead by 2 points, but they still have a game in hand. So they've played one less game than everyone. It got postponed. So if they were to win that, they would go back up to 5 points ahead. But Liverpool 36, Chelsea 34, Arsenal 30. Man City's still in 5th with 27th. Let's not act like they don't exist anymore. They're still a good team. But Chelsea have won their last 5 straight games to get up to 2nd with 34 points.
And where are you guys at?
United is currently 13th. But if we were to win a game, like let's just say we were the only game today and we won, got 3 points. Okay. We would go from 13th to 6th.
So it's tight.
Yeah, like let's just put it this way. The 4th place team has 28 points. The 13th ranked team has 22. It's within 4 or 5 points of each other. Again, there's still 20 some games left. Yeah.
All right. Another first off, starting this Thursday, we have a just banger of a slate for, I think there's NFL football 10 of 14 days or something crazy. Like,
yeah, because the 4 teams, Chiefs, Texans, Steelers, Ravens, do that flip-flop on Saturday and Christmas Day. So Thursday, I think it's Chargers, Broncos. Friday's the Indiana versus Notre Dame. Saturday, Ravens, Steelers, Chiefs, Texans, and the other 3 playoff games. Sunday slate, Monday football. Wednesday's Christmas football, 2 games. Then that next Thursday's Thursday night football. You go into the weekend, Friday, and the 3 games Saturday for college football playoffs. Then you have NFL slate Sunday and a Monday night game. So from Thursday through Monday, there's only, I think, what is that? Tuesday next week is the only day without football for the next 14 days. And it's all playoff time. Starting to see clinched playoff berth, clinched division, knocked out, eliminated, advances. It's all big-time football.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's a great time of the year.
Yeah, still enjoy your family, okay? Christmas Day, we'll have some games on the TV and whatnot, but I really enjoyed the fact that ESPN and, I called football, okay? And I said, do you really need to start Texas, Clemson, and Steelers, Ravens 20 minutes apart? And they were like, sorry about it, dude. We can't move the games. And I was like, that's kind of shitty.
For you, they should have.
a lot of unnecessary strain on the heart. Like, you could have changed those games, but whatever.
Here we are talking about their product for free. The disrespect.
Someone asked me, they said, who you rooting for more? And I said, Steelers could lose by 58 if Texas advances. Who gives a shit? Like, what are we?
Yeah, the Steelers season isn't live or die right now. So.
Yeah, I don't want it to be. If we beat the Ravens, we pretty much clinched the division.
Yeah.
But, like,
it's not do or die yet.
It's playoff football. Like, it's win or go home.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
Absolutely. I want to be in that Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Like, come on.
Yeah, who do you guys get the
State if we won, but we're locked in on Clemson right now.
That's right, Arizona State.
Cam Scatterbo.
You'd have to imagine that game's pretty winnable too. So
yeah, that's why I said someone asked me like how much you betting on Texas? And I said, well, let's just say in my budget I would pay $100 to see them win the Natty. So each round I'm gonna bet $25 money line on the other team. So I'm going to bet 25 on Clemson to win, which would win like $85. If we win in advance, sweet. 25 on Arizona State. We'll probably be 14-point favorites. $100 if they lose. Guess what? $50 negative. I'm in the semifinal of the playoff. Like, that's how I'm going to approach betting Texas.
That's literally, I'm not joking you. That's what I did for Michigan last year, starting with the Ohio State game.
Nice.
All the way up to the championship.
And I'm in this pool where like 12 people put in $25. Draft order was randomized, and then it was a draft. You got to pick your team. You go next, and it was like if your team wins, it's like $200. If you're in the semifinal, runners up, it's $75. I was the 9th pick, and got Penn State. SMU and Boise are their first 2 games. So if Penn State on the other
side.
Yeah, if Penn State makes it to the final on the other side, I win money from Penn State.
So we didn't really talk about this, and I mean, I don't know if we really want to, but we'll just briefly do it because you have Penn State. I was like looking, and again, this is football. There's always a path for everybody, but just hear me out. Penn State beats SMU, not crazy. Penn State beats Boise State, not crazy, right? Yeah.
They have the easiest path theoretically that people say.
Notre Dame could beat Indiana. They're favored. Okay. Georgia without Carson Beck, or even with Carson Beck, hasn't looked great at all the times. Notre Dame upsets him. You tell me Penn State can't beat Notre Dame? All of a sudden, Penn State's in the Natty. There's a path, dude. There's a path for these teams.
Me and J-Mag, we're both pretty locked in that it would be pretty fucking cool if we could see Texas Notre Dame in the Natty.
Oh,
so that's obviously
I didn't even consider that. Would your friendship be?
It would be
good enough to watch the game together.
Yeah, absolutely would.
Really?
Yeah, it's respectful enough. Like, good for you, man. It would suck, but like 2 teams at the Natty at the same time. I mean, we can't get tickets, unfortunately, but
yeah.
But no, we would absolutely watch that game. Yeah, like fuck Indiana on Friday. I'm not 2 ways about it. Notre Dame and Texas. I'm thinking about betting like before it starts. You know how you can do like Texas for Notre Dame as the actual result of the final. Like $5, but who knows about that? No, but same way. You know, I was rooting for Michigan until they played Texas. You know, hopefully they could do it, and they ended up not playing Texas and handily destroying Washington, winning their Natty, and we'll see who crowns the first 12-team playoff.
Well, that's enough for us today. We'll play next week by ear. Holiday. We'll just have to see. These next couple weeks we'll have to play by ear. I will be out of town in literally 2 weeks from today, going to the Michigan game. So
yeah, we'll definitely have to play by ear because Christmas Eve is usually when we go to my parents. So I don't know if we'll be podding. And then shortly after, January 2nd through like the 11th, I'll be out of state, so I won't be podding. Yeah, so we'll if we don't see you guys, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Thanks again for another successful year of the pod. It doesn't go unnoticed. We appreciate you. We appreciate every single listener. Like, share, like again, tell a friend, subscribe, unsubscribe, leave 5 stars, whatever you got to do. Let's go. Playoff football. See you next time. We're out. Welcome.